It is one of the striking facts since the events on Capitol Hill on 6 January 2021 that some of the strongest and most vitriolic attacks on Donald Trump have been made by establishment Republicans. The Wall Street Journal has called on him to quit. Senator Murkowski of Alaska has called on him to quit also. There is quite a head of steam on National Review calling for Donald Trump's impeachment, and that seems to be also the view of its editorial board. I think Republicans who make these demands need to take a step back and think through their positions very carefully. I appreciate when they make these demands that it is an indicator of the extreme hostility these Republicans feel towards Donald Trump and the seething anger they have no doubt harbored ever since he became the party's candidate for president back in 2016. The fact remains that some of these attacks are deeply unwise and would call into question, if pursued through to their conclusion, the future of the Republican Party. Briefly, it is important to understand that this narrative that some Republicans have adopted, that Donald Trump somehow took over the Republican Party and usurped control of it in 2016, is wrong, and that this idea that the Republican Party can somehow divorce itself from Donald Trump and cut itself off from Donald Trump and suffer no negative consequences in consequence is also wrong. Briefly and very simply, Donald Trump became the Republican Party's candidate for president in 2016 because the vast majority of Republicans willed it so. They willed it so in primaries in which Donald Trump defeated establishment Republican candidates like Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, and Ted Cruz. And of course, most Republicans, the overwhelming majority of Republicans, enthusiastically supported Donald Trump in the actual presidential election in November 2016, which Donald Trump won. The Republican Party, or rather the anti-Trump establishment wing of the Republican Party, also had the option, had it wanted, to act against Trump in the run-up to the presidential election, which has just taken place. It's been almost entirely overlooked that there were Republican primaries also, and there were Republican candidates, never Trumper candidates, if you like, who stood against Trump in those primaries. Trump steamrolled over them. He won all the Republican primaries held in 2020 by overwhelming margins. In the actual election, which took place in November 2020, he won 74 million votes, more votes than any other Republican candidate for presidency in the history of the party, and more votes than Barack Obama won in 2008 when he was a successful candidate for the presidency of the Democratic Party. The Republican Party cannot therefore argue that Donald Trump is any sort of usurper. He became the Republican Party's de facto leader because he has and had the overwhelming support of the Republican base, the people who consider themselves Republicans and who vote in elections up and down the country in all the various states of the Union. It is a disastrous misconception to think that the Republican Party can simply cut itself off from him in the way that some people are suggesting. If the Republican Party were to make the utterly misguided decision to support the Democrat Party's moves towards impeachment, then of course the Republican Party would not only antagonize much of its base, since Donald Trump was its properly elected leader and candidate for office, it would risk delegitimizing itself and all the positions Republicans have officially taken in the 4 years of Donald Trump's presidency. Thankfully, it seems that within the Republican Party, wiser counsels are prevailing. Mike Pence has made it clear, apparently, that he has no interest in acting in accordance with, as some people say, the 25th Amendment of the Constitution to remove Donald Trump from office because of incapacity. I have previously explained in an earlier broadcast why the 25th Amendment cannot or should not be used in that way, and why it would be a disastrous precedent to do so. It now seems that Mitch McConnell, on behalf of the Republican Party leadership in Congress, has made it very clear that the Republican Party is not going to support any move to impeach Donald Trump. He has apparently written to Senator Schumer, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, to make it clear that as majority leader, he will not call the Senate back into session before the inauguration on 20th January 2021. Apparently and conceivably, the Democrats might continue to pursue their impeachment after the new president is inaugurated. I have to say that I would find that a bizarre action, and already there are many who question whether it would even be constitutional. In either case, or in any case, it seems that most Senate Republicans will not support such a arguably unconstitutional impeachment, and in light of that, it cannot succeed. These correct decisions are politically wise, not just because supporting Democrat moves to remove Donald Trump from the presidency would risk delegitimizing the party. They're also wise because they would set the Republican Party against its own electoral base. The simple and overwhelming political fact in the United States, and as it would be true in any other country, is that for the Republicans to remain a viable political force, they need the support of their base. Acting contrary to their base's wishes is the high road to political oblivion. In the United States, as everywhere else, a party simply cannot exist without its base.